Okay, hey, how we doing? It's the Sports Greek, Victor Logathetis. Just finished up our latest episode. It'll be episode 4 of season 2, talking a little bit about the Hall of Fame, talking about briefly about the football results, the Super Bowl matchup, a little bit about the Mets finding a new manager, which they did before we went on today. The Mets hired Rojas as their manager. He was a quality control and outfield instructor for the Mets. He's been with the organization for 13 years. So they've hired him today. They're working on a long-term deal for him to replace outgoing manager Carlos Beltran. So that's good stuff. Hall of Fame. We had Derek Jeter got into the Hall of Fame yesterday, Tuesday. He and Larry Walker were both inducted. And, I talked about Larry Walker a bit. I don't believe I would have voted for him. I'm not outraged that he got in, but I kind of subscribe to the same thought process there as Mad Dog Chris Russo, who's on MLB Network, High Heat show every day at 1:00. My thoughts there is Walker didn't have enough boldface. That's always what Mad Dog says. Not enough, you have to have the boldface on the record. And if you look, he led the league in home runs once. He only played 150 or more games in his career once. Never led the league in hits, never led the league in runs or RBIs, which is what he was in that lineup to do. Was to drive in runs, score runs, and get hits. And he hit for high averages, but played in a ballpark that absolutely benefited offensive players. You look at all those guys: Walker, Galarraga, Pichette. Charlie Hayes had a solid year there. All those guys. Todd Helton in his career there. And I'm sorry, Walker to me was a borderline Hall of Fame guy. I think he was a very good player. He was a very good player in Montreal before he went to Colorado. But I would not have voted for him. I'd have voted for Bonds and Clemens. I think I mentioned that on the podcast. Which incidentally, if you haven't gotten that, our podcast page is the sportsgreek.libsyn.com. You can also get us on Apple Podcasts. Just type in the Sports Greek, and that should come right up. I think we're the first thing to come up on the search for that. Spotify and iHeartRadio also have my podcast. So I do hope everybody will take a listen. We'll have that show up maybe later tonight. If not, it'll be tomorrow afternoon at some point. We'll certainly have that show up. I don't want to give everything away on the show, but we certainly talked about the Hall of Fame and everything else. We were talking about Twitter. My Twitter handle is @BigGreek24. Certainly can be reached out there. If you follow me, you'll get a lot of these thoughts and everything like that. Somebody put out that the fact Kurt Schilling didn't get in was a joke that lesser pitchers are in, which prompted me to ask the question, who? And the comeback was Mike Mussina. I looked up Mussina's numbers. Mussina had more wins than Schilling. 270 to 216 to be exact, and I think 153 on the losses to 146. So his spread between wins and losses was greater than Schilling. Schilling had an 11-2 record in the postseason, which is great. And if this was the Hall of Postseason, he'd be in first ballot, but he's not, and it is not. Andy Pettitte would probably be in too. Andy Pettitte was a big game pitcher too, last I checked. But that's not the case. There are a lot of players who've had great postseasons that just weren't great all-around players. 216 wins at the time that Schilling pitched. I'm sorry, it wasn't. It's not enough. He was injured a few times. I know that 94, 5, and 6, he had bouts with injuries, and I know later in his career he did. Schilling had 3 years where he had 18 or more wins, where Mussina had 6. Schilling had 3 20-game win seasons. Mussina won, oddly enough, his last season. I think Mussina may have had 2 other 19-win seasons in there as well. So, but to say Mussina is a lesser pitcher is just not. That's just not so. Sorry. And you want to throw in people like throw in the strikeouts per 9 and all this other stuff, but it's on the field. What did he do? What are his career numbers? He pitched longer than Mussina and pitched fewer innings. He had more strikeouts, and Schilling was a big strikeout pitcher. for a long time, and he was. I think he was. I think I said before, he was 11-2 in the postseason. There's nothing wrong with that. Their ERAs were very close. Schill was 3.46, Mussina 3.68, and Mussina pitched his entire career in the American League East, which would account for the higher ERA. The WHIPs were .06 apart. Schilling was 1.13, Mussina 1.19. So, again, telling me that Mussina was a lesser pitcher than Schilling is just it's I'm not going to say it's stupid, somebody's opinion, which I'm not going to go out and say it's stupid, but it's not the case. So those are my thoughts on that. Going into the Super Bowl in a week, which we'll preview next week, hopefully have some guys on again to look at the Super Bowl. I'm going to see if we can get Russell Baxter back on the podcast. And if you're not already following him on Twitter, please do so. It's at Bax Football Guru. He has great stuff, and I think, like you said on the podcast, if you follow him, you'll get everything he's got from his football stuff right into his grocery list. So great, he's a great guy. He's a friend of the show, and he's again great information. Put some fun stuff up on Twitter with the Super Bowl coming up. So I'm going to try and get him on next week to preview the Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the 49ers. Both teams well deserving to be in this game. The 49ers defense, the last two games, has played fantastic. Best two defensive games they played in 2 months, but everybody's healthy, it appears now. And the Chiefs just continue to roll. This could finally be Andy Reid's year. And we get these guys and some of the radio stations in Philly, the talk radio, all saying, why would you root for Andy Reid? Well, because Andy Reid made football relevant in Philadelphia again. Yeah, I've been an Eagles football fan since I was 10 or younger. I was 10 years old when Dick Vermeil came in. So, that was my first opportunity to see the Eagles win, was with Dick Vermeil. And it was much different back then, the way football was, the way teams were built and all that. The teams stayed together longer. You didn't have free agency yet. And, that team finally got through the Super Bowl. That's Ron Jaworski, Harold Carmichael, who's now in the Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Harold Carmichael. Very well deserving. But he made, Dick Vermeil was the first coach of the first team that I got to see win. And then Buddy Ryan came in. He was the next. And he won any playoff games under Buddy Ryan. Great defenses. Great players. And some fun players to watch on those ball clubs. Then he went through another dry spell. And then Andy Reid came in. And he changed all that. He made the Eagles consistent winners year in and year out. For 14 years, the Eagles were relevant in the NFC every single season, but maybe his first year there. But from his second year to the year he left, you always thought the Eagles had a shot. You always thought they were good enough to get in the playoffs, and in some years you thought they were good enough to win the Super Bowl. And maybe he should have won one here. Maybe they should have gotten more than one. I don't know. But to blame him for all that is it's beyond stupid. And it was time for him to leave when he did. And good things sometimes come from those things. A couple, 3 years with Chip Kelly, or 2 years, 15 games, whatever the hell it was, and then Doug Peterson came in, and coach on Reid's staff, and we finally won a Super Bowl. So I have no ill will towards Andy Reid, nor will I ever. I think he's earned an opportunity to win the Super Bowl. I think he deserves to win one. Hall of Fame coach. And an outstanding coach. People may not like his press conferences. People may think he's too dry. People may think he should, watch Bill Belichick sometime. You want to see a guy that absolutely doesn't look comfortable in front of the media. But he wins. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Go back to the Hall of Fame for a minute. That somebody said today that they're calling for the guy to present himself who didn't vote for Derek Jeter. Who cares? Who freaking cares? In all seriousness, who cares? He's in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Fame. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if he got 100% of the vote, 85% of the vote, or 75.1% of the vote. He got in. Better players than Derek Jeter have not gotten unanimous votes. Okay? Tom Seaver, Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, Hank Aaron. I'd say they're all probably better than Derek Jeter. And no disrespect to Derek Jeter. Great player. Great player. He was an outstanding shortstop for the Yankees for all those years. a key cog in those World Championship teams that they won, starting in '96, and now rightfully being enshrined in the Hall of Fame. And I think that's a testament to his career, a testament to who he is. And like I said with Larry Walker, I mean, he's not a bad player, not a bad guy. I wouldn't have voted for him. I wouldn't have voted for Schilling. I would have absolutely voted for Bonds and Clemens, because if you got to watch them early in their careers, and I did, you got to see that they were special players even before all this, performance enhancing stuff came out about them. Their careers were Hall of Fame careers, and did they maybe unjustly extend those careers a little bit? Probably, but they were Hall of Fame players even without the help, and that's the shame of it. Honestly, is that they were definitely Hall of Fame players without any help. They didn't need it, and it's just it kind of sucks that they did it, because I think it tarnished their careers a bit. And I remember watching Clemens during the '86 season, and he was just so dominant. He had a 20 strikeout game in Seattle. I remember watching Bonds play, and back then, people who got to watch Bonds at the end of his career don't realize Bonds was a damn good defensive left fielder. He just didn't have a strong throwing arm. When he first came up, he could hit home runs. He played outstanding defense, and he could steal bases. And he was a fun player to watch. He had Bonds, and a few years later, he had Ken Griffey Jr. come up. These two guys played at the same time, albeit in different leagues. And they played different positions, obviously. But, my God, really fun to watch. And especially in his career, Bonds always looked like he was having fun playing, as did Griffey. But I absolutely would vote for Clemens and Bonds, and I certainly hope they get in the Hall of Fame. What they did and how it happened at this point, especially now with what happened with the Astros and the Red Sox and the sign stealing thing, I really could care less what Bonds and Clemens did, if they did anything at all. So that's how I feel about that. So again, thanks for checking in. Our new podcast episode will be up, as I said before, probably later this evening, which it's Wednesday. If not, it'll be out Thursday afternoon. And again, the podcast page is thesportsgreek.libsyn.com. I'm on Twitter @BigGreek24. You can also find the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And here we are on YouTube. We do these live feeds every so often. If you missed the live, the video will stay up. And we have a couple other videos out there as well for you to look at. So if you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe. And then you'll get notified every time we put up another video. So thanks again. Have a great day.